Hey y'all, and welcome back to the No Rules Just Vibes podcast. I'm your host, Maya and Jill, and thank you guys so much for tuning in another week. I have a very, very special guest here today, Robert Dixon, and y'all, we are going to get into some church things, especially the Black church. You know, we Black, so we got to keep it real. But y'all, it's a special show set up, and so before we get started, I just want to give Robert a quick minute to introduce himself to y'all, so y'all get a little feel for who he is.
Hey guys, my name is Robert Dixon. I'm a native of Birmingham, Alabama. I've been here all my life, and I'm just excited to be a part of this podcast and this discussion. I'm sorry, I can't talk early in the morning.
Look, that's me. Y'all know my tongue get tied up all the time. So that's just what it is. Okay, Robert. So Robert's from Birmingham. I'm from Birmingham. So this is home for me, and I'm so glad.
205.
Period. But okay, y'all, we just want to talk about like judgment in the church. I know it's a big thing, and I know it's something that has kind of pushed people away from the church. And so we both are Christians, and we we consistently attend church. My parents are ministers, and Robert, he's big time in his church.
I'm not big time, but I am heavily involved in my church activities. So yeah.
Right. So I feel like he was a good person to just really, really pick his brain on some things. So I guess just in general, what's your overall view or just your opinion on, judgment in the Black church? Do you think the Black church can sometimes be overly judgmental?
I won't say, yeah, I can say overly judgmental makes it seem like it's excessive, and it can be in a sense. But yes, I do. I can agree with that. It's judgmental people has pushed a lot of people, especially millennials, away from the church because of traditions and people, millennials, we don't like to follow rules a lot of times.
Right.
but like, and so anything like traditional or whatever, that has a say in us, leaving the church because of the judgment.
So, I think that's interesting. So you would say more of a generational thing. Like there's a generational thing at play when we're talking about judgment in the Black church and tradition.
Yeah, because I feel like, and this goes back, like, I don't feel like us as millennials, we might judge you, for what you do and what you say, but we're not like coming at you like, you need to change this, you need to do this. Like, we let you do what you want to do as long as it's not affecting us.
Right.
Then it's fine. But the older generation, like, they see you out doing something that's not like Christian, like they'll be quick to tell you, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that, or you're like, oh, are you my parents or something? But like, I feel like it's a generational thing. Like, I feel like we don't correct as much as the older generation does.
So I guess my thing, I agree, because I guess my opinion or what I've seen, I guess my answer to that question would be yes, but I think I have to put that in context. So I agree with you. I think that the tradition and generational thing plays a huge part in why, a lot of people view like the church or the Black church, because it's not really even limited to the Black church, but I'm talking about the Black church just because I'm Black.
Right.
But
I don't know.
right. But I think that is definitely the age thing at play and the generational thing at play. But I think just like culture plays a part in that too, because like the whole, like, it takes a village to raise a child thing.
Right.
I think that's where some of that comes from, where they feel comfortable correcting you or just having a say in a lot of the things that you have going on, whether it's in the church, without the church, or whatever the case may be. But I also think that I think it may be, I don't know, I'm trying to see how I want to say this, because I think it's definitely culture, but then I guess the issue with millennials are just people who have this viewpoint like, oh, the church is hypocritical, is this, is that, is judgment. I think people feel that way because I think it's hard to receive correction when there's no relationship there. And I think that's where we miss the mark. So I think, like, it's hard for you to correct somebody that you haven't spent time building a relationship with, because they're
Right.
not gonna receive it. It's gonna
Right.
be it's gonna be some pushback there, and it's gonna be like, okay, you need to mind your business and focus on what you got going on, sweep in front of your own front door. It's gonna be
Right.
that sort of situation. And so I think that's where the problem is. I don't think it's necessarily so much like the judgment or the correction. I do think they correct more than what we would do. So I do agree with you on that. But I
Yeah,
think
we
go
might
ahead, go
talk
ahead.
we might talk about it private, like we might talk about it to our friends, but we're not gonna come up to you like, hey, you need to stop doing that. We might say it to like, hey, they kind of wilding over there, but that's them. But we're not gonna come up to like, hey, you wilding, you need to stop doing this. We'll just let you do whatever you need to do, and be like, and we'll judge you from the side, like from
Yeah.
the side, not in your face with it.
Yeah, see, that's
Okay.
me, because I'm definitely baby, that ain't got nothing to do with me. If that was a person, that's me, because I'm just
Right.
like, that ain't my business. I ain't got
Right,
nothing to do
right.
with that. I'm coming to get my word and I'm leaving.
Now,
It's more of that thing.
now if it's I've like been in situations like if it's like my friends or whatever, like we'll hold each other accountable. People like, hey, like Robert, like you shouldn't have acted like that.
Right.
And like you said, it's a relationship type thing. Like I can receive correction. I've received, me being in a praise team member, I've received correction before about stuff that I posted, like stuff that I've done, like as far as on social media. They were like, Robbie, you're like on the social, you're like on the praise team, like you're on the forefront. So you need to watch what you post and watch what you do. And I was able to receive that, one, because we had a relationship, two, because I was, in that moment, I was convicted. I was like, yeah, Robert, like, I really shouldn't have done that, or I really shouldn't have posted that, because that it's not a good look. And I know people don't like, I know people don't really like, vibe with the whole, look. It has to look, as long as it look good. But presentation is a big thing in church. And if you're if you're out there, wilding out and doing all types of stuff, and then on Sunday you singing and preaching, they're gonna look at you crazy.
I agree, because you kill your witness. It's
Right.
you kind of, what you're saying is, or what you're doing is not going to be impactful on Sunday, because everybody's looking like, oh, this person is not really living what they're saying. That's with
Right.
anything and with anybody. That's like
That's true.
take it outside of church. If I'm doing something, or say if I steal, I don't, but say if I steal.
Right.
Like I can't, and everybody know I steal, or I'm a booster, or whatever you want to call me. I can't then go and tell somebody, even though I'm telling you what's right. I'm telling you not to steal. That's the right thing to tell you. But I've killed my witness and my influence, because look at what I'm doing, So
Right.
I think that's just in anything. I don't think it's even just the church.
Right.
So I definitely agree with that. So okay, so I guess my next thing is when it comes to judgment in the Black church, or just church in general, when it comes to that, do you think that we're sometimes, I guess, more forgiving or gracious depending on who it is? So I guess, or just the status of who the person is. So I guess, whether there's like a greeter, or for instance, for you, praise team praise team worshiper, having a moral failure versus the pastor, because I feel like within the last 2 to 3 years, we've been seeing a lot of pastors in the blogs.
Right, John Gray. I can say their name. I'll say their name, John Gray. Seem like every other day, like, sir, go home to your wife. Stop it. Like, go home to your wife. Go home to your wife. You on Oprah's network preaching and talking about God's word, and you have a platform, and you going and cheating, like, sir, like you're visible, and you're not a small guy, like
we see each other.
That's crazy to me, but yes, I honestly feel, to answer your, I'm sorry, we went like to the left.
No, I'm here for it. I want to know.
To answer your question, I feel as though, in my personal experience, I've seen it. I've seen, people like treat people different depending on the status. But I can say this for my church, as far as I've seen, like it's like even across the board. Like
Okay.
you will get sit down. You will get sat. It's been people that got sat down because of stuff they have done outside of the church, and they're like, okay, you need to sit down for a minute. Like, so it doesn't matter. As far as I've seen, it doesn't matter. But I have seen where, like especially like people with big platforms, like, you know, it depends on who you are and the status. That can have an effect on, you know, how people will judge you. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Okay, so I agree too. I think you're more likely to forgive based on the status within the church. Like the higher up, the more gracious it tends.
Right.
And I don't know if it's just that person is just
visible.
Yeah, like more visible, and then you feel like you have more of a connection to that person. So it's almost like you want to see them win, and so it's like, okay, we're gonna support you to help you get through this.
Right.
That kind of thing. So I definitely think it plays a part. So okay, so I guess. Okay, so I guess my question, because I want to go back to like the preachers and the blogs thing.
Okay, that's fine. We can go back there.
and it's just across the board. Because the way social media like has changed the game now, people are having online services. Churches are building their platforms, and preachers and ministers are building their platforms on social media. Do you think that sometimes, or just do you think we should be a little bit more careful? Because I think just having preachers or just gospel singers or whatever, just like in the blogs, because we've had a lot going on in these last, like we had people coming out about their sexuality. We've had people cheating, just having affairs, just different things. Do you think sometimes do you think that's kind of hurting the church? And when I say hurting the church, I mean just kind of, there is not really that protective shield, because it's like open for everybody. And so to me, sometimes when we put ourselves on social media, or we just expose like everything that's going on, even though we're trying to be transparent and showing the human side of what being a Christian is, you go through things, you do things, which I love that. But I think sometimes we have to also look at the cost of that, because I feel like it's, that kind of thing is just like, see, I told y'all, look, that's what happens. That's what happens in the church. Or that's what, this is why I don't go to church. Or this is why I don't do X, Y. It's kind of like a validation thing. Like, it's like I won't say we're proving them right, but it's kind of like, I don't know what you think.
We're giving them ammo to, like,
Yes, exactly.
So my thing is, like, people need to realize that Christians are humans too.
Exactly.
Okay. So we'll mess up, but the difference is between us and, like a non-believer, is we have a relationship with Jesus Christ. We can ask for forgiveness. And I feel as though, like, you can be transparent. Because like my pastors are very transparent of where they come from. Of course, they've been delivered from it. They're not like going back to doing what they used to do. That's the difference. When you keep repeatedly doing stuff that's not Christian, like, that's cause for, like, okay, like, that's a problem. Like, you need to handle that. You need to talk to God, whatever relationship you have with Christ. You need to, tell him, hey, like, I keep doing the same thing. I need help with it. And some people don't care. So that's a whole nother thing. But I think at the basis of it, Christians are humans too. We're going to make mistakes. And I feel as though, at the churches, every time something happens in the church, it's people that haven't healed from their own wounds. They're like, oh yeah, that's what happened Oh yeah, that always happens that's always happens in the black church. They always stealing money. I'm like, my pastor don't steal money.
Period.
We know where our tithes are going. Like we don't. It's like people's like, that's why I don't go to church now, because they steal tithes, they have affairs, they do this and that. I'm like, but my thing is, we're human. At the end
Right.
of the day, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to like we're not perfect. Like, and it's something, and I know it's some Christians out there that think that they are perfect, but at the end of the day, for the general consensus is we're human and we're going to make mistakes. So there's have to be some type of grace and mercy. Now, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again,
Yeah.
then that's a different story. Like, that's an anomaly or an exception to the rule. Like, that's that's not Christian. Like you should want to strive to be like Christ, and you should be convicted. Like, if I John Gray, if I'm keep cheating on my wife, I need to go back to the drawing board. Like, God, like, change me. Like, do something in me. Like, I can't. He don't want to change, but I'm not talking about him, but I am. But he
Wait.
don't. But you have to want to change, and
Yeah.
a lot of Christians out there, some Christians out there don't want to change,
Yeah.
and that's that's like the exception to the rule. Like, you have AEIOU, sometimes Y. It's exceptions to every rule that we have. So
Right.
I feel like we shouldn't be judged based on the exceptions to the rule. Like, we should be based on the general consistency. And like I said, some people haven't healed from church. It's such thing as church hurt. Some people
Mm-hmm.
haven't healed from that church hurt. And if you haven't healed from it, it's going to keep rehashing. And you're going to be like, oh, that's why I don't go to church. Oh, that's why I don't do this. And if you don't hear from that, then, like, you're just going to keep, being hypocritical or
Right.
being critical of the church.
Right. So, okay, I agree with that. And then I guess I think my thing is, if you know you truly aren't there yet, and you're still kind of in the cycle of repeating, I think we just got to do a better job of being responsible with our platforms. Then, like,
Right,
especially on
right,
social media,
right,
I think, especially if you have a large platform and you're still in the thick of whatever it is that you got
right,
going on. I think,
John.
Lord, I think we just got to do a better job of just like being responsible with those platforms, because we know what comes with that. But I guess I think like everything you said kind of segues into my next thing, because for those people who are just kind of waiting on, like, okay, well, that's why, or just kind of looking for that ammo or that thing to validate why they don't go to church, or why they're no longer a believer, or why they're just kind of dead the whole Christian thing. Do you think that is judgment, or I guess, do you think there's judgment that's pushing people away, or do you think that it's just the lack of wanting to be held accountable? Because I think there's like a slippery slope there too.
Right. So the thing about judgment is, going back to the point, like, when people's like, oh, that's why I don't go to church. Have you ever had a bad experience at a restaurant? Okay, you don't stop going to restaurants altogether. You try a different one. Like, all
Period.
churches, all churches are not the same. Every church is not going to hurt you. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like going back to that point, like, if you can, because like I said, my church is not perfect. I've been hurt by the church, but my thing is, I've taken to the account that they're human. People are human. People make mistakes, and to that effect, like I said, like, if I don't like something, I just try a different church. Like, you can try different. All churches are not the same. There's a church. I'm pretty sure there's a church that's the right fit for you, that checks the off your list. And as far as you saying, like, judgment, I feel like as millennials, I'm speaking for me, sometimes we don't want to be held accountable.
Right.
Like, it can come off as judgment when you don't have a relationship, but I feel as though, like, we can we can kind of like, it's like you said, it's a slippery slope. Like sometimes like you can't tell me, like I'm in the wrong, but you can't tell me what to do. Like that's not right.
Right,
like
right.
like it's certain stuff that you shouldn't be doing. And I feel as though the millennial type of, person, like we're like, oh, like you can't, it's a new day, it's a new dawn. Like we that stuff is out, them traditions are outdated. I can do what I want without, fear, without, consequences. And that's not how it works. Like it's still rules, it's still stuff we gotta follow. So to that point, yes, it's a little bit of both. People can be overly judgmental because I'm like, but weren't you a crackhead too? Like you shouldn't, like weren't you on drugs, or weren't you an alcoholic? Pimp, stuff like you,
Okay.
like you. A lot of Christians then start off. All of us have sinned and came short of the glory of God. So
Right.
like when you come to if you come to the person like, I've been down that road, like it's nothing down there for you, then there's a difference. And there's a difference in that, and then saying, oh, you shouldn't do that, like that's wrong, and you're not giving any rhyme or reason as to why.
Yeah. So you said so much in that. Like I guess my first thing that I agree with, because I do think like the church is like, off the top of my head, just kind of where I am, like just thinking right now, I would say just church in general is probably like the one thing that people write off if they have a bad experience and like don't want to experience it again, like don't even want to try, like and I think that's so interesting that you said that, because we have a bad experience at a restaurant, we're gonna go to another restaurant, we may not go back to that specific one, but it's not gonna,
Right.
we're not gonna say, okay, we're just cooking from home forever.
Right.
We're not doing that. So we just continue to try, restaurants, and then we find those restaurants that we like and we keep going
Mm-hmm.
back to them. So I think that was a great analogy. But then as to like the judgment and accountability thing, I agree with you. I do think it's a little bit of both. I definitely agree with you on that. And I guess my thing is, I think people don't really understand how Christianity works. And I think that's where some of the disconnect is, because we talked about this just a few minutes ago. You're dealing with imperfect people. Like the whole point of Christianity is somebody, like your sins have already been paid for. Your sins have already been
Right.
bought. You are going to mess up. Like
Right.
everything has already been paid for, and like you can't earn it, you know what I'm saying, like you can't do enough good to earn God's grace, God's love, or whatever. Like do what you do, like doing an amount of good is not what gets you into heaven. You have to be saved. That's what gets you into heaven. So I
Right.
think
Right.
once people understand that, it kind of, number one, it changes your relationship with God. So you don't really see God as like this punisher or like this person that's mad at you every time you do
Right.
something wrong. But then you understand, I think it helps you understand how to be accountable without feeling judged, because you're going to be convicted, and it's like you're going to know that, okay, I didn't, even though this person is overly judgmental and I didn't like what they said, they right, and it's like you said,
Right.
it's, even though you may not want to receive it, you're still going to, feel that accountability, just feel that conviction to say, okay, whether I like it or not, they right, I'm out here wilding, I gotta calm down.
Right.
I gotta sit down for a second, or just kind of really regroup and figure out what's going on. So I do think, yes, I do think there can be some judgment that pushes people away, but I do believe, especially when it comes to millennials, I'm like you too. I think we have a very hard time being held accountable, because we approach everything as if, you know everything is new. Everything is non-traditional. Get rid of the old, out with the old, in with the new. We want everything to be done a different way, quicker way. And not even within church. We just approach everything so non-traditional. So I think when we have some of that stuff kind of bleed over into, like you said, it's still rules. Like, it's not like a do what you
Free
want.
for all.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like a do what you want whenever you feel like it, and then I'll just ask for forgiveness later. Like,
Yeah.
no, Like, let's reel that back in.
Right.
you
You
know,
can don't abuse it. Like
right. We can't go do whatever we want to do and then, be on stage on Sunday and think ain't nobody gonna say nothing.
right. Yeah, God know my heart. Like
Exactly.
God, but does he though?
Right.
like,
But do he?
like does he really know? Do you know your heart?
Exactly. So yeah, I do think it's a little bit of both, but I think we just have to when we really understand what Christianity is, then you're dealing with people that aren't perfect. And so you
right.
have a better idea of how grace works. So, whether you understand that, okay, when you went to church and somebody agreed or had an attitude with you, you don't let that ruin your whole church experience. You have the mindset of, okay, maybe that person's just having a bad day,
Bad
and
day, right.
you just go on. But you don't understand how, when you don't really understand how Christianity works, then you say, see, this is why I don't come to church. They all, they say, forgive and be kind and everybody's mean and this and that, but you don't understand that you're dealing with a group of imperfect people that are striving to be better, that are currently in a state of working towards being better. Like they're trying every day, getting up every day, trying to see, okay, how can I defeat this struggle? How can I be better in this area? So I think once you have a better understanding of Christianity, then you'll be more open to being held accountable and you'll be less judgmental. So that's how
Come on. Okay, hey, come on.
just a little word. Okay, so I guess my last thing, and this kind of ties everything in together, I think. Just what is your opinion on how do you balance the come as you are versus not losing like the reverence or just, I guess, the sacredness of the church? Because I think we're in a space now, or just in a time where we're really like living out trying to balance this thing, because
Right.
you want people to come and you want them to feel comfortable coming, but you don't want to lose like the reverence or just like the sacredness of God and the church. So how do you think you're supposed to balance it?
I feel like the come as you are, that's for people that don't know any better. Like, so, and as far as like come as you are, you have to come as you are with the mindset or with the thing that you're willing to change. Like that what you're doing is not, you want something different.
Right.
So I feel like, some people say come as you are, like just to justify, their state of being. Like I'm coming as I am because, I don't want to change. And I'm like, that's just who I am. No, like if you
Or you
come
like
in,
you said come as you are. It's like,
like
come as you are, but like that's not where the sin is,
right, like willing with the mindset to change. Like what as you are is not acceptable. So
right.
you're looking for change. Like some people, they're like they abuse that come as you are. Like I'm gonna come in like I dress in revealing clothes. That's just who I am. I'm like, no, like you, and especially if you've been in church and you know better, and sometimes you probably have backslid, and you're coming back, and so people know better. Like, so I know there's a line there. Like, it's some people out there that genuinely doesn't know any better. That genuinely, never experienced church or never, been to church or, been a part of it. And for those people, like there's a difference there. And I feel like you can kind of tell the difference between somebody that's coming as they are to defy something, or coming as you are because you're willing to change, or you're ignorant of how church is, or how you're supposed to reverence the Lord or anything. So there's a difference there.
I agree. So this is, I guess, my opinion on this. And I don't know. I don't care if y'all get mad. I'm gonna say it, but
Okay.
I think there is a such thing as appropriateness and tact, and I think people try to like twist that into, oh, it's respectability politics. No, there is a time and a place. I'm a firm believer in that. There is time, to do things, and there's a time to not do things. And so I think, because I feel there's like a lot of things with the whole dressing things in church and things like that. And it's like, no, there's a difference between a environment that's casual and an environment that's business, and an environment that's holy or sacred or whatever,
religious,
right, an environment that's athletic, or just like like a more
right.
It's different things, and we understand that in every other area, but then we act like we dumb when it comes to the church. And so when I hear like the comments you are versus like the whole reverence and sacredness of God thing, I think, like you said, I think it's meant for people that have never experienced God, are and just like curious, or either have never experienced God and just want to experience God, and just want to be better, want to overcome something. But it's not for the people that are just trying to be rebellious and just trying to like push the boundaries, or just like like how far can I go without anybody saying anything or addressing it. And
some people want people to say stuff to them. So like some people do that just so they can say, like, please don't, like, why are you coming to church wearing Savage Fenty? Like, no, that's not it.
Right. So it's like, I think, we understand it. Like, they say don't wear bonnets outside, or in like, if you in school or in a meeting, you don't wear your bonnet. You don't wear your bonnet to work. You don't wear it. And so why, when it comes to church, we just lose all train of thought, just lose all common sense. And it's like, no, like there is a certain thing as tact and appropriateness. And I think when you even if you don't know, because not everybody understands tact and appropriateness, but like you have to at least be trying. Like you have to be at least, or just like open to receiving some guidance on it. That has to be the thing. So I definitely think, I guess outside of like the dressing part, like just come as you are, like in your state of being, like wherever you are in your life, like you could be in the thick of something, struggling or whatever the case may be. I still think the come as you are is like not the end of the sentence. I think it's come as you are, comma, and seek. Like it's more of a, like there's still some responsibility on you to be wanting to change or wanting to do something, or just being open to it. I think if you're coming as you are, like you said, and it's just like, I have no intention of changing. I'm just coming or whatever, or I don't even want to be here, and I'm coming, and I'm, whatever the case may be, God forbid you smoking or doing something that's just like compromising, the sacredness or just the reverence of church, or what church is supposed to be. And it's like, like, come on, like you're not gonna be able to do that, So I think it's a balance, and I think it's something that a lot of churches are trying to do to be able to reach millennials right now. I think that is I think we're seeing it play out in real time. But I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. I think we just kind of, like you said, it's rules. Like you just got to be okay with that. Like it's a time and a place. And I think if you don't want to do those things or whatever, then you may want to find a place that's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more casual, because you do have those places. I've gone to a Black church all of my life, and it's been a little bit more traditional, or just religious. And now I go to a predominantly white, it's multicultural, but I go to a predominantly white church now, and it's very much so more relaxed. Like it's a complete culture shock. And I like it, just because I think it matches my personality more and what I want from church at this stage in my life. Because I know Bible, I've studied the Bible, I read my word every day. I think I've gotten that, but now I'm looking more for just like a practical application on how to be a Christian every day, and like something that's not unrealistic, something that kind of teaches me, okay, like in real time, in modern day, what does this look like, that kind of thing. So I think, like you said, it's just a matter of where you feel comfortable, where you feel like you're learning more, where you feel like you're being transformed. It's a lot of churches out there. There's a lot of great churches out there.
A lot of restaurants. Like you tried a new restaurant
Period.
in, and
Period.
you found a fit for you.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I definitely think, don't give up on it. If you're somebody that has experienced church hurt, church judgment, and it's like completely pushed you away from the church, go try again. Try something else. It's a lot of churches that have services online. If you don't want to get up, we still in the pandemic. If you don't want to get up and go, go find you a church and tune in online to see if it's something that you would be interested in going to, or just experiencing, or ask your friends what churches they go to, and see what they say. So okay, I think that's a good place to stop. I feel like we've talked a good little bit, and just kind of share our thoughts on some things. So I guess I like to do this before I close out. I like to give my guests just like a quick little minute or two, just to say something positive or inspirational, just to leave us or close us out on a good thought.
Keep God first. Hey.
Point blank. He needs to be first.
Right.
Y'all are here. Oh, wait.
That's not all I got.
No, but look, that's something that I needed to hear. That's something I needed to hear, because I think it's so easy to just kind of get lost in life, and
it's
stress
so easy
and work, and we sometimes we make our problems bigger than God. So I think we actually needed that reminder. Right. I know I needed it. So
me too. I said that for me.
Period. Y'all heard Robert said, keep him first. Keep God first. Okay, well, thank you, Robert, so much for being on the show. I had a ball. I loved having you on here. Just love having your honest opinions. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I will be back with y'all next week, and I hope y'all have a great week. See y'all later.